is Shirley with Spirits of Matter, and today's episode begins on if it's a Sunday, then the night is Jupiter and the hour is Venus, and I'm not surprised because the topic for this episode is actually very Venus. And not only is it Venus, um, it's a Venus retrograde invisible one, absolutely. So Venus is ruling Ketu, okay? The tail of the dragon in Libra, which happens to be in the broadcaster's 8th house, tropically. So the moon on the 23rd degree of Aries, which happens to conjunct the broadcaster's ruler of the 7th and 4th. And Jupiter is sitting pretty in the 14th degree of Taurus, which happens to conjunct my sun. And Uranus in the 22nd degree, squaring Lilith and Venus retrograde. We're kind of a degree or two apart between that square. But Venus is absolutely coming into the Eurekas with Uranus. And she's also applying to conjunct Lilith. So we have some more Venusian stuff. Mercury is already in its shade period. Okay? What's Mercury? Agreements, contracts. So, in the light of Venus, agreements and contracts related to Venus. So that can be values, valuables, and relations. And as I was, watching some videos on my other channel earlier today, I saw an interview with a divorce lawyer. And he talks about prenuptials. And as I was listening to him, he's a very intelligent person, very humble person, very kind of frank and desiring to do good person. So that was on the channel Soft Underbelly, something like that, Soft Underbellies, which is a great channel. And as I was listening to him, and he was talking about prenuptials, how that can save the money that you think that you're saving on a lawyer or you're not making a prenuptial, you're going to spend so much money after that. And there are so many expectations we come with financially, and so many things that we didn't even think about. So that was interesting. And as I was listening to him, I was thinking about a teaching actually by Lada Ducheva, and kind of like my version over it, because I'll give you the teaching as it is, and that is, the teaching as it is doing feminine, masculine energy, okay? So it's working with the chakra, saying root chakra is masculine, second sex chakra, womb chakra is relational, is feminine, solar, masculine, heart, feminine, throat, masculine, and third eye, feminine, and then crown, I don't know if it's masculine or feminine. But what it says is basically if you have a cisgender couple, okay? And it can translate to non-cisgender couple. Let's say you have two people. The man, okay, masculine, brings root chakra energy, okay, which is also wealth, money, okay. Woman brings relational energy. Now, they come together, now the man makes more money, okay, he has good sex, good relations, his emotional needs are met, her emotional needs are met, otherwise she won't be able to provide. Then he starts making money. Now it becomes something, okay? Then he has to bring it up to the heart again. He has to pour his love to his woman. Then the heart is filled for both of them, okay? Now you can express the love. Now you can open your third eye because you got the stability, you got the good life, you got the good relations. And that's kind of like the spiritual concept of how this relational thingy works. And another thing that's important from that teaching is that if you're a person alone, or even if you're a woman alone, a cisgender woman alone even, then it's important for you to have some money that you can get by without a man, because it's about your having the root, okay, having the money, having the wealth. Doesn't have to be a whole lot that you can get by yourself, okay? Then you connect with the man's root, and then you can relax into him. But you always gotta have the money. Although for your security, if you're not safe without him, if you don't have the wealth without him, you can't provide for him emotionally because you're dependent on him. Now it's a drain, and now you're draining his energy. He's gonna make less money. Okay? Also for the men, the men gotta support women to be doing good. But then she says something that I believe that it does work for some, but it really depends on people. Is that if you're the main breadwinner, then it's more difficult to relax into feminine energy. Okay, so it's kind of like the money that is being made by one of the parties. This is already my interpretation. If I'm going to expand that, you have a connection. You have a connection between people. You have energy exchange, okay, on various levels. And I'm going to bring in another notion from Tom Jacobs, great astrologer, evolutionary astrologer. And he actually had a course, I don't know if he's still selling it, that was money is energy. And talking about intergenerational wealth stuff. I definitely got this course on the menu. I got a Chiron course on the menu that I want to take. And he's talking about money as energy. Okay? And Lada denotes here too. Money is energy. So if your man is happy and you're sleeping together, he's going to make more money. This is why for people who are monogamous, it's very important for the men. You make more money. If you're cisgender men, you make more money, or whoever the partner is. Pour that back into your relation, because you're going to spread that seed around. Okay? You're not concentrating your energy. Again, if you're monogamous, if you're poly, now we got a system, an ecosystem working here. And so, as I was listening to this lawyer, and I was thinking about wealth, and I was thinking about sex, and I was thinking about intimacy, marriage, people living together. First of all, we gotta understand how important willing consent is to both the couple. Willing consent is not just about women. Okay? It's not just about sex. Willing consent is also about the connection, the commitment, and whatever you do within the connection. Okay. It's, I would be gaslighting if I told you that willing consensus, we have not grown into it, so we don't have it implanted into our DNA. We need to learn it literally from scratch. None of our parents had it completely. It doesn't mean that all of our parents were like rapists or something, but we did not have this awareness to the various levels of willing consent that we are having today, and to the role that it plays in our psychology, in our physiology, in our well-being, and in our wealth. Okay? This is why to make wealth and well-being is something that we need to come, to start from scratch. Because we don't have models on how to do it. If I listened for, I don't know, how was it, 30 minutes to this divorce lawyer who's been having a lot of experience with various couples from various income levels. Of course, they had to be able to afford him, but various walks of life, various ages. Sometimes he would represent the woman, sometimes he would represent the man. But the thing is, for all of these stories, we understand that we really don't have it together when it comes to how to do things in a way that supports us. And when we don't count the money as energy, we don't understand the things that get us to gain wealth, we don't appreciate them, we don't divide our wealth accordingly, now it's getting more and more difficult. And it's not because we're bad, it's not because we're evil. We weren't taught that. We weren't taught to pay attention to that. So let's say you talk about two people, okay? Let's say one person is gaining the money. Okay? Another person is not going out there to get a job, but they are listening to that person making the money. They are listening to them after work. They are containing them. They are supporting them emotionally. They are there. They're witnessing them. Okay. What you need to understand is on energy levels, and it was a breakthrough for me too, because one of the blocks that I had is shameful. But I admit it because I believe that it will help people. That when I was thinking about making a lot of money, I was thinking about, that would make me more like the men in many equations. And then I would be afraid to be like somebody's ATM or to be abused for my wealth. The kind of fear that men have. And I was like, that I'm having this fear. It's a wealth block. But you got to understand, if you're making that wealth, and there's this somebody who's witnessing you, who's listening to your rants, who's there for you, you're getting assistance, you're getting energy, and money is energy. So we shouldn't be thinking about our joint or our assets. Basically, if one person did the job, the one person was the front man, did the business, closed the deal, okay, took care of this, took care of that other person is with them energetically. Okay, so we shouldn't be even thinking about our wealth in such terms that I came with this, I worked hard, I made all this money. What did you make? Okay, you try to make all this money without a partner, man or woman. Okay, if you've been making this money with a partner, you try to make all this money without a partner. Not going to work. You're going to need either another partner or you're going to make money. Now you got to understand. And there's another point. Are you growing your wealth together? Are you growing? It's not a shameful thing to ask. It's not because you each other that's a business deal. That's not where I'm coming from. It's energy. If the energy flow in your commitment, in your polycula, in your marriage is not stagnant, is actually working, is actually growing, you made this wealth together. And this is also where credit comes. We think about workplaces. A lot of times we don't understand the meaning of certain type of work or certain type of tasks until they're out, until we don't have this parameter in our life anymore. Now it's difficult to get ourselves to grind. Or now we're making money, but we're not making as much. Or now we're making money, but we're more frustrated and happy in life. That is something that we need to consider. And whilst I'll say even something more. One of the wisdoms that I had, you see, in my life, I had all kind of real situation. I have Venus opposing Pluto. I got ruler of the 7th and 4th opposing Pluto, because the rulers of relationships. Okay? Opposing a very powerful transformative planet. And I had to be very smart, because I was in certain situations, well, let's say I would be attracted to a guy. Okay? Then I would learn as a girlfriend. I said, dang, can't do it. Okay? But then it started flirting with me. Okay? I cut him off, or I expose him to his girlfriend. But not behind his back, in front of him. Why? Because I understood something very, very important. Okay, and I'm energy sensitive naturally. I'm the type of person. I'm the type of person that was accused of being oversensitive. Okay, it's kind of like you're oversensitive. How did you even get that? I don't feel how you feel. And by even people who channel, they would be like, had a friend who was a relationship coach, and she was like, you really are. Like, please understand, I'm not demoting your emotions and I'm not invalidating your emotions. You are sensitive way more than others. Okay? I had to cope with that. And so I understood a lot of things that other people wouldn't. And it was like that to me. One of the things I understood, let's say I was attracted to a guy, he would have a girlfriend, boyfriend, or whatnot. I understood that the man I was attracted to, okay, I was not attracted to him. I was attracted to the front man of a merging of something. And so because I knew that and because I was smart, I wasn't trying to separate them. Understand? It's not just moral and ethics, it's also utilitarianism. It's kind of like, either way, that man, if I take him out of the dyad, or take her out of the dyad, okay, now I got to deal with what the other party deals with that made him flirt with me. Okay? So understand, you're entering a certain situation here. And so for non-monogamous people or polyamorous people, there are these, for practical reasons, there are a lot of people who are living with the main partner, and then they divide the wealth in such a way that that goes to the main partner and less to the other people, and so on and so forth. It kind of makes sense, but also you must understand that if you're having metamors, this is what we call them. In non-monogamy, we call them metamors. And metamors are assets, okay? That's the third party in your relationship that looks at it from another point of view and is exposed to certain things. And if you're not stupid and you don't think that, oh, this person is having a crazy boyfriend, a crazy girlfriend, I'm going to be their savior, they're going to be fine with me. Okay, don't be stupid. Unless they are in a very unhealthy relationship, that's a very different story, but they're not going to flirt with you if that's the case. Okay, if they're flirting with you, it's very likely they are unhealthy too. No shaming, no judging. But the thing is that if it's a healthy, relationship, is just not monogamous, you gotta understand, metamors are considered assets. Why? Because they can save your marriage, because they're like the marriage consultants. They see what problems repeat themselves, and they got a new point of view, they got a new perspective on it. Okay? I can tell you, I had a guy try to hit on me, and I did not know he still has girlfriend. And we were drinking and so on, he was trying to hit on me. And then he told me he has girlfriend. I was like, what's happened with you? I thought you no longer have girlfriend. I wouldn't be here with you. And drunk as I was, started talking to him and said, listen, you see what you're doing with me? You try to approach me like way too much. You're not letting me shine. You say, I'm sure you were in love with this person, with your girlfriend. I'm sure you were in love. You were in love, right? But because you don't let her shine, okay, your passion is so much overwhelming, you don't let you stifle her, okay? Now she became this person, this dull person. Now if I was with you, I would become this dull person again. Not only did he apologize after what he did, because he was not sensitive to my boundaries, okay, I had to really be forceful, but not only did he deeply apologize, he went and married that girl. Okay, he went and married that girlfriend because he understood whatever the pattern in his life that was broken, he needs to fix this pattern wherever it doesn't matter how sexy the woman is, how intelligent the woman is, how erotic the woman seems to him. It doesn't matter. He's going to still have to deal with the pattern that he has in himself. How did I say I was in an intimate situation with this person? I could see it. Okay? I could see exactly what was wrong, what was going wrong. Okay? That's how you should be treating people. And in non-monogamous relationships, you need to understand that the wealth is divided more like when you have concern, not concern, concern, where you have basically like a board of people and they're all part of the making of that wealth. You're basically having a mini corporation. And the problem with having to hide the fact that you have other people in a situation is causing a lot of wealth drainage. It's drainage on the will and consent. Okay, when I exposed the guy once, I didn't do it for morals. I was sick. Because the guy was flirting with me and it troubled me for some reason. I was sick. He had a girlfriend. So eventually I saw he had a dating site, very, very active dating site. And he presented himself as single. So I said, I'm not going to go behind his back because I'm not going to contribute to backstabbing. It's not what I'm going to do. I wrote an email to him, to his girlfriend, the same message. Told exactly how I met, exactly what happened. And I said, listen, what you do to her, you mess with her will and consent. She did not choose. She did not choose to sleep with you when you sleep with others. Okay, you must understand that. And I wasn't shaming, but it's very difficult words to hear. But this is an aspect, it doesn't mean that he's a rapist, okay? It just means that there's an aspect to will and consent that we weren't considering. And that drains on our body, and that drains on our soul, that drains on our wealth. Okay, it makes us unsuccessful. Basically, it makes us undermine ourselves wherever we go, because we have to be, now, it's both society having to be more accepting for the fact that there are people who are non-monogamous. Okay? It's both ourselves having to be accepting that the range of what we can feel, what we can do about it, what we want to do about it is confusing to even us. We have egos, and we must understand the drainage on the wealth. When we are slacking with those things, we must understand that, because at the end of the day, we want to concentrate our energy in a certain way. So when you think about starting a commitment with another person, yeah, it means that whoever is the front person, if y'all be making more money together, it doesn't matter who makes the money, okay? Some division should be made, and how should I say it? You know, the dividends need to be transferred. This is energy. I think the best thing is to have it into separating account. It's kind of like whatever we make, separating accounts. But for that, you need to be able to walk out easily. Okay, the way divorces are arranged right now is very, very problematic. Very problematic. It's very difficult for people to get divorced. So what I say is only relevant when people can easily get divorced, because if you pay attention, it's not working for you financially and or energetically, you gotta understand that separation is needed. It means that something here doesn't work. Either you can fix it or something doesn't work. Okay? It's going to drain on your energy, it's going to drain on your wealth. And when you can have that, when you can walk out with ease, you need to make the switch in your head to be comfortable with the fact that what I got in this connection, not talking about the wealth you had before the connection, okay? When I got into this connection, what the wealth that I made was also thankful to the person that supported my goals. Now, if he was not or she was not supporting you in your goals, you gotta leave, right? If you succeeded in spite of them rather than thanks to them, now we have a serious problem. But we should all be thinking about this in relations to our relations, because this is an enlightening question that through your money count, you can basically even diagnose certain things that are happening in the connection. Okay, you should be able to do so. You should be able to do so. Because it means that where something either is draining the energy, maybe it's your communication with each other, maybe this, maybe that, or there's some other party that people are not aware of, or there's something that people deal with. But the big question is, like in the big picture, you should be complementing, you should be increasing each other's well-being and wealth, not draining each other's well-being and wealth. And this is whether it's two partners, whether it's whatever genders or whatnot. So those are kind of like thoughts. And Venus invites us to basically tend to those taboo topics from an enlightened point of view. Okay, if you sleep together, you should be able to talk finances together. If you can't talk finances to another person, it's kind of like if you can't tell another person what you like. Okay, you're not ready to have sex. Definitely not ready for marriage. And normalize being single. Normalize being single. Okay, people demote people being single, talk about, oh, this single person or this single that. That is, it's draining on your own wealth eventually, because maybe you will have to be single. Maybe you will have to be, separated for a while. Take the time. What's also been on my mind when we talk about unhealthy relationships, okay, there is this double standard to women, but I believe not only to women, that tells you, if it doesn't work for you, walk out. If this work is draining you, walk out. If this relationship is draining you, walk out. Okay? It's not a wrong thing. But then when that person does walk out, what they're being told when they say, okay, that person hurt me, that person that was my friend, my ex, my this, my that, my boss, that person hurt me. What they get from sometimes the same people who say this, okay, the same people who don't understand why do people not walk out, is the same person going to tell you, no, I don't think that they thinking, or maybe I'll like this, maybe, and that is very, very difficult. And then when the person walks out, not only do they not get validation, but they don't have a place to walk out to. Literally, people are homeless. And so, and that is not just for women, okay, also for a man. If he is afraid that he will not be able to sustain a good life and receive support walking out, he becomes deadly to himself and to his family. And we need to change, in the sense that we need to create the conditions that allow us to be good people easily, rather than talking about resilience in a way that maybe the way that people react to stress in general is dynamic. Okay? And when we put people under so much stress, they give in. And the person that was kind to you during under stress, okay, if they were not exploiting you, they could be evil to somebody else. Okay, so what we have been thinking about the person, the personality, or the Pluto Soul generation, that kind of we're looking for the individual, the one person that does things, that does or either something horrible, or the one person that does something very, very good to entire society. They think kind of like the Nobel Prize winners and so on and so forth. But we are now entering the the generation of Pluto in Aquarius and the Pluto Capricorn beginning called Generation Alpha, I think. Yeah, Generation Alpha. So they're becoming to kind of take the stage. And I think Blue Ivy is actually already Generation Alpha. So you see a very young human being dancing at the front of the world stage. But then we really need to build the structures that allow, okay, for people to make good choices in their life easily. And it's not as easy as we think. I tell this story a lot recently. I was going to Tel Aviv the other day, and I was watching the new project by Gindi, and it had a couple of smart buildings. Okay? And as I was walking, I wanted to walk from one street to go upstairs to cross the park to see what's in there, to go to the less tall buildings and take a look around. And not only did it, like the first thing, I'll tell you how it happened for me. I was going to walk, but there was construction, so you couldn't, let's say you would walk your doggy, you couldn't cross from your building to the other building where there's a park where you should be able to walk your doggy. If you're buying a Gindi place, you got the wealth. It's in Tel Aviv. It's very expensive real estate. But you couldn't be able to walk this even if you had all the money in the world, because there were constructions and it was closed. I was like, what is going on? And the way this construction was, like, they did not create a passage. Usually they create a passage. They did not create a passage. And I'm like, wait, what is going on? And I'm like, Shirley, what is going on with you? Have you seen the entrance to these buildings? You have a security over there. You need a card to open, right? Or maybe your fingerprint to open the doors for you. Those things inside, those are smart apartments, okay? Those smart buildings. What does it mean? It means you can hack to somebody's entire being. The people that live there, some of them, if they want to go from the living room to the bathroom, they gotta call their bodyguards. And then it hit me, penny drop. It's kind of like those very, very, very wealthy people, they are having to go through all these restrictions for their daily life. We, the people, talk about freedom of movement. They don't understand. Okay? And so creating the structures that allow for us all to have well-being is something that needs a trial and error, because, for example, as I was between houses, then I went to a village, and if you have no place to stay, then you can't sleep. But then I went to a village, and the village was nice houses, nice yards. I spoke to a lady there, and she told me she can't sleep. Why? Her husband needs the air conditioner on warming, and she cannot sleep. Okay, it's an old lady, married lady. She can no longer sleep. She's got the house, she's got the yard, she's got the family, she's got the connections. She can't sleep at night. And that was like, whoa. Okay? So it's really, it is tricky. And yet, people do need to sleep at night. People need to sleep well. People need to be in good temperature. People need to have a safe place to be, whether they're together or not together. It should be possible to walk out of a relationship that's no longer working and remain alive and live good. It takes grief. It takes, yes, absolutely, but it should be possible for both. For all people, it should be possible. And so there's something fundamental the land, to the air, to the waters, that definitely needs to be transformed. And we keep getting clues of what it is, or what the problems are. From a bird eye view, we can, if we get one good night's sleep or a couple of good night's sleeps, we might be able to be more compassionate towards ourselves and the people around us. And we understand that striving for this world where more ease takes place is actually a good cause for humanity. And the lessons of resilience, it's not a bad thing to be resilient. But when it gets overwhelming, then people just break down. And what the fault is not their fault. Because we should be able to have ease of life. We should be able to have ease of life. And rather than eliminating the weakest, creating and innovating is something that is useful, because when we look at nature today, we understand that nature survives thanks to a very varied ecosystem, interconnectedness. And the teachings that we had, the spiritual teachings from, secret societies or cult societies or masons, so world leaders, all around, okay? And those teachings, as I began to read Mein Kampf, you don't, like, you expect to run into a monster. You don't. You're running into the average Joe in terms of relatability, with a very passionate and even compassionate, okay? And it's what seems to be very authentic testimonial of life. Or like when he tells, like, I respected my father, but I loved my mother when I lost her. It was very different. Or where did he get his ideas? Giving credit to the people who gave him ideas. So his history teacher, he wanted to do painting, and his history teacher taught him in very exciting, very dramatic way about the history of the Prussian nations and people and the folk. And so he got his ideas. He got his ideas from somewhere. It wasn't coming in an empty vacuum. And when you read the beginning of Mein Kampf, that's all I read for now, you basically read about the understanding from that point of view, which is still the understanding of even the majority of people that are like, unless you do permaculture and actually implement it in your life, then there is a lot of the understanding, and that was that each people need to live on their own land, so they need to all come to the land of those people. Okay, this is the origin of nations, or the nation state. They all must come to the motherland, and they must not fight. Okay, they must be concentrated on going from what we call exile. Okay, going back to the motherland. First of all come to the motherland. Okay, then of course, that all people who live in a certain land will be living in that certain land. Okay, and this is something I hear from Jews, not even Zionists. No, not Zionists. People say Zionists. No, not Zionists. Zionists Jews. Europe, it's true, but also Orthodox Jews. Okay, I was going on the bus. I was talking to a lady, and she used to live in the settlements. But they were evacuated from the settlements. It was, I think, 2005, 2006. So they had no homes. Fortunately, she lived by family, but they were evacuated into 1 million citizens were evacuated with no home solution. And she tells that her children, they understood it. She said, Mama, we are homeless. And she tried to kind of like, you can't go around it. That's what the situation was. And then when I said to her, I said, the government that doesn't build construction or build within the green border, which that's Israel, I don't trust for their decision outside the green border. Everybody needs to have land. Everybody needs to have a place to live. And I tell her, you know what? I think maybe if Palestinians, there's a village that's called Kfar Shalom, which is basically peace village, and it's a joint village that was funded by Palestinians and Jews. Okay, and they are hippies. They have this. Me and my friends used to go and meditate there, next to Latrun, next to the church. There, it's a very nice place. If you ever visit Israel, it's a wonderful, wonderful place. And I'd love to join you. I'd love to guide you there. So I was talking to this one. I said, okay, you know what? I think that Palestinians and Jews need to form settlements wherever there is land, like ecological settlements that respect one another's space, but also have a connection. Like we need to build that, because then no government has power over us. Only God. Okay? And she said, no, I don't want to live with them. I don't want to live with them because then there will not be no Jews, no this, no that. It will be mixed. He was called Itbolelut. And I let her go, but before that I was talking about Maimonides. And Maimonides is one of the rabbinical influences on contemporary Judaism that cannot be ignored. But if you take a look at Maimonides and what he wrote, he was both affected by and influencing Sufi Islamic scholars. Okay? So, and I remember when I was in Netherlands, the Jews told me, you can't go to a church. To a mosque you can go, but not to a church. The church could be to, of course I did go to church, to the Oranje Kerk, Sunday Master. But the thing is that the people who have shaped, and it's not only Judaism, the people who have shaped the religion, they were people of the big world. They were people that either lived in exile, and thanks to that they were affected by all kinds of thinkers and religions and ways of life, and they brought it back to the religion. They brought it back. So that which you are afraid to lose is basically designed by the very people who have been in exile and who have bothered to study and to live with those other religions. So there's a big dissonance. Yes, we need a separation, and yes, we need togetherness. But if you understand that thought that each people to their own, which doesn't seem illogical, okay? In all of the religions and the peoples and the folks that believe in that, there is just that Mein Kampf thing where eventually there's either a Geulah or either a place where everybody believes in the same religion, or you start basically fighting and basically conquering more and more land because your population is growing. It kind of seems like, we're an invasive species and so on and so forth. Venus here invites us to rethink. You think you're such an invasive species. Well, how many children would you have if you really had to support them, A? B, if you really tended to will and consent. If you wanted each child to have a good life, you wanted ease in your life, and you understood the intricacies that people can separate, and you give them the place to do so. And so, eventually, dogs is stronger when they are mixed. Okay, much stronger than they're mixed. Okay, and it is diversity that keeps us alive. It keeps the nervous system alive because there are constant changes that we adapt to, and they go not by combat, but by, how do you adapt to changes? If every change is threatening, then you're not likely to change. Okay, you go through crisis in order to change. But if every change is exciting, it's not threatening. You're not threatening. You see new peoples, and one of the great memes I saw actually on Twitter by Indigenous Native American account that said to the white Americans that said, your ancestors may have been brought here on a Mayflower, but my ancestors were there to greet them. Okay? And you think about the wisdom of there totally new people come to your land, you're there to greet them. You're there to greet them. Hello, newcomers. And not only you're there to greet them, this is true in pretty much all known tribes, unless there are, yes, there are tribes that won't greet you well, but a lot of them, because would you get into the way tribes lived, they would have channelers that would get, if I listen to Robin Youngblood, then she was in either Europe back then or still in America, getting the news about two dragons that came to tell her that that the land is no longer able, that the dragons are no longer able to alchemize all this much energy, and asked her to pray. And then there was a tsunami in Japan. Okay, so these people, they know, like when the Americans would come, they would not see them as threatening because of the interconnectedness. Okay, if you're connected with nature, the trees tell you, the land tells you, the waves tell you. Okay, it's not something we can ever get a grip on with science accurately. We can get something close, but not all that accurate. And then you just know, you understand changes that are happening in the world. And so for these tribes, they were not afraid of the newcomers because they knew that they were coming. Some new people were coming, okay, we're going to come and greet them. But those new people, they did not have this connection. They did not have this connection. And so it's very difficult to establish communication. And they were performing tremendous, awful, and useless genocide in people that were ready to greet them. Okay? There was a lot of unsettled land on the United States. So this is also about our wisdom as people, and the understanding that to have our own intimate relationships right, it's interconnected with what's going on with the world. When you get to practice willing consent, we need to remember the things that we learned during Rao in Taurus. The things we learn about, chatting with our vagina, chatting with our penis, delving into these are now Venus retrograde invisibles, delving into desire, the nature of the burning of certain types of desires, but also discovering the essence of desire and how that has also to do with wealth. Okay, not just money, but wealth. That you have, let's say you're working hard, that you have somebody to come to and talk about your day that keeps you sane before you go to bed. That's wealth. That helps you build wealth. Yeah, that they should be getting dividends. And this is not about, and this is something that I understood today. It's kind of like, oh, like I had this in mind, but now it was more like really crystal clear that that is something really important. That is an understanding of wealth that we should be having. And that also unlocks the part in our brain that think, oh, I made all this money. I worked all this hard. And now this person is asking for a piece of that. And wants to leave me. Okay? It doesn't seem logical. Of course not logical, because they should have been having that while you were making this money. They should have been getting dividends. But this was also the way I got, how I got dividends, because those of you who do not know, I survived trauma, but I wasn't believed. Okay, and so what I knew that was something that I couldn't walk so well. I couldn't stand. I could walk, but I couldn't stand. And I have the structure of my, the bones of my feet. And nobody believed me. Nobody cared. Like they were, even though I wanted to get a job, I said, just please give me a job that I can do. And then if I tried to work with, let's say, customer service, then I would get my throat sore and I would go to the bathroom from the stress. And even when I got like the better jobs, something was going the way. Then I always wanted to study more to get advanced, and it took a while for me to know myself. And when it came to like creative jobs like filmmaking or this, I felt like, oh my gosh, connections with people is very difficult for me. I'm a very sociable person. It was very difficult for me to create connections and to build a movie together. So it was a big problem, okay? And eventually it affected my mental health, and I had a crisis after crisis but only when I heard that I can get funding for a degree, because I really wanted to study, I said, okay, it's worth to fight for my life, then if I get this. If not, let me die with dignity. Let me die with dignity, okay? Back then, that was my thought. In fact, the Dostoevsky line about if only to live, only to live, it was a trigger to me, okay? I was triggered by this, okay? So that it was that far off. And the thing is that when I was in my 20s, I worked for a credit card company. And as I was doing a Richard Branson on him because I was frustrated that we had to take out calls to people. We were receiving calls, and I was not comfortable with calling people, interrupting their day. But then they got us some customers where I identified the potential, and I basically wrote a screenplay. Yeah, I was writing scripts. I wrote a script, basically. I wrote a script. Because they recruited people for incoming calls, it's a different type of skill. It's a soft skill. And we had to do outgoing calls. We were on the verge of shutting down. And me, the person who was most frustrated from this, I got the point, because there were people that the company fooled previously, and what we were suggesting to them is that they can return their loans in whichever sum they choose, and they also get 3 months free interest. So I was like, I just said, okay, I just wanted to, it was a credit card, I just wanted to let you know we're renewing your card, and we have changed the things that were horrible about our card. So it's basically a service to a person. And the people that in the beginning, I remember one girl, her name was Shirley, I remember that we have the same name. And she was pissed. I listened to her, and then I said, this is what's going on. Then she was thanking me. Okay, so I took that script and I shared it with, the people, my colleagues. I wanted them to make money. But I said, it's not on anybody's, it's not on anybody. These people, they're stuck with this card. If I renew the card, they get better conditions. But and it doesn't cost them any extra fees. So it's like they get better conditions. So it's not on the account of the client, it's actually in favor of the client. We're correcting our mistakes here. And my fellow employees, like they need to know, not my employees, like my colleagues, they need to know this. So I taught this script to everyone, and then they taught the script to the marketing service, and then not only did they not shut the place, but they started recruiting salespeople. Now, of course, that line of clientele, it went down. So later, after me, they would have after the money I made them, they would have to hold this, and later they wanted to come again with the scheme of kind of like using like gaslighting to get people to pay. Let's say you buy $3,000, okay? Then if I would talk to you, they wanted me to say, well, I'm setting your credit, like your return fees on your loans, on your purchases for $400, and that's schemy, that's crappy. That's why we got unsatisfied customers. And I was like, I'm not doing this. And everybody was really like, how come? Because I was like, I was like the point at the arrow that hit the A in the, and I didn't get that. And I just left there, and then we moved out to another house, and I still remember my boss, he was a kind person. I actually met them recently. So I didn't get the verge of it. Okay, everybody got a lot of fees, but I didn't get something extra. Okay, I didn't get something for my creative ideas. And I wasn't thinking about it. I was just thinking to get out of there when it was no longer, in the back of the mind, I was like, they should have been giving me like extra fees. They should have been giving me something here. I didn't understand it, like, and then I tried to keep working. And after this workplace, it was a pack of failures, one after another. And every time that I would kind of like, my mom would joke, you get kicked upstairs, because I would get an even better job with even better salary, but nothing worked. And we got to 2008 crisis. I went through tremendous crisis because I was able to study. Then I did not outdo myself. I was actually working for a high-tech company, high-tech school, and in the manager's insurance, in the life insurance. I asked the person there, does that include suicide, and for how much months do I need until it covers, so that if I die, my family would get money. That was the plan. Okay, I didn't hold there. And then I got into like completely mental crisis, and I got money to study. So now I was a student. So that was my situations. And as I was trying to get out of it and to get back to work, to business, I was working with actually Mercury Talismans by Spear and Sundry, the Dorky subset. And we were doing a lot of great things together. So one of the things that I just kind of woke up with was like, hey, I'm still like, if I would invest, let's say if I would not pay taxes. And I was proud of my taxes. I remember when I made my money, everybody was in my paycheck, and I was like, I'm for exposing paychecks. Okay, we should be talking paychecks. You can't understand who was working at the bank. It's kind of like you put Che Guevara to work at the bank, but it's kind of, what are you expecting there to happen? Okay, but nobody knew. It's like, that's the job that I could get into. That's the job I grabbed. Like, I'm taking a job, right? The high moral of work or whatnot. So the thing is that they were like, aren't you pissed? Told me, aren't you pissed that you're paying taxes, the wage that we will make, the basic wage, that your whole basic income goes to taxation? I was like, hell no. I got 2/3 of them, and it's still $9,000 for 20 something back in 2000 something. I'm like, hell no. I'm proud. And that's something I got from my family. We'll always be proud of how much taxes we can pay, because this means that we are wealthy. We cross the tax brackets, that we can pay that. Okay? So you can imagine how much I knew and didn't know. Now, I didn't know anything about credit score. I did not hold a credit card. Okay? So, because I was like, I want to buy my house in cash. I want to buy my mama car. I want to buy her in cash. Like, why should I be messing with credit? Why should I be doing that? If I got the money, I got the money. If I ain't got the money, I ain't got the money. I don't gotta buy it. And then 2008, right? But the thing is that I did not get, let's say even if I didn't pay taxes, okay? And I would take this money and would say, I want to invest it. I will invest it the way I see fit. And I would come to one of those Eagle companies that I wasn't with, the Mercury thingy. It took me, there's another episode where I tell about it. It took me to Herzliya, actually. And then there was the building in front of the Eckerstein building where JP Morgan sits. And there was this company. Okay, you don't hear about it in the news. It's not a big thing. Nobody really knows about it. And I wanted to come and post. I said, hey, I get welfare. If I invest $5 monthly, okay, and I want to show what my $5 do. So I wanted to pitch that and to have transparency, to have a show around it. We show 24/7. What do my $5 do? So because I thought, what's the JP Morgan? JP Morgan's idea was like, if you're homeless in the street, I donated you $10. Okay, you go and invest five. These five are gonna make you more dollars. And then somebody donated, you go and invest that. These five are gonna make you more dollars. That is money. Money makes money makes money makes money makes money makes money. Sooner or later, you're no longer homeless. Okay? I wanted to see this works. This is what stocks are supposed to be about. This is the money that makes money. This is how we're supposed to have social mobility that JP Morgan promises. So I went to this company. I don't know what this company is. Okay. And there's a very nice gentleman meeting me. Like this gentleman, like I definitely like, if ever I or anybody I know builds a certain whatnot business corporation, whatnot, like he's gonna get I'm gonna court him to come to our place. And I'll tell you why. He was very kind to me. He said, well, for your money, we deal with a lot bigger clients. He said, we don't have a lot of clients. We deal with very, very, very big clients. And next to me, JP Morgan's in the Ackerstein building. It's kind of like, you don't know if it's a JP Morgan or the Ackerstein. And he said, in the public and private sector. So that was very obvious to me. And I said, you know what? Even better, if they're willing to do a show about this money, how is money being made, because people are going to look for transparency now. Now it's hot, and anybody's going to give in transparency now. It's really, this is really hot potatoes. And so this person, to me, is a genius. Why? He did something very simple. He took me out, said, come to the kitchen, make yourself a cafe, went into the room of the CEO, and told the CEO, told me to wait outside, and then I got to meet the CEO. Okay? This is genius, because if you're the CEO, it doesn't matter if you like the idea or don't like the idea. You want this person. You want this for, if you do anything of business, you understand why you want to see this person, huh? Any way you turn it around, this person you want to see in your eyes. And that's the employee that's going to get you to see this person. Okay? It's not the employee that pushes that person away, because then you don't know that this person exists. Okay? So, what the thing is, the CEO came, and he told him something very simple. We do not do corporations. We do not expose what we do. And it sounds like a simple statement, but it's not. Because it basically means that when you have your 401k, okay, taxation, or private investments, okay, the companies that you invest in, they also invest their profits. Where do they invest their profits? In those type of investment companies that are smaller, that are like the company that I was at. And so I, Shirley Tali Jungblut, cannot take my $300 taxation and say, you know what, I don't give it to the state. Like Elon Musk says. Elon Musk says, oh, the state doesn't know how to manage his money. I know how to manage money. You give that money to me. Okay? I cannot give it to Elon Musk. Why? Because these companies, they don't mess with these. But when all of the citizens pay taxes, and even if you get welfare, which I get, then you have, you basically have a fee for when this money is transferred to your bank account, and you have that you pay, and you have health insurance that you pay. It's not a question. You have to pay it. And so even this money, for the people who get it, okay, it's another couple of millions. Way more than a couple of millions for the government. Okay, so you think about the $300 that a person is making. And so that money is invested as one bracket. And so let's say one bracket of a couple of $billion versus Shirley tries to invest her $3,000 smartly. Okay? That already gets us somewhere. And now I understood it. It's kind of like the universe said to me, well, if you want to make a life while making a living, you're going to have to break the bracket of the dividends that you've made when you were 22. Because, darling, you're not living on taxpayers' money. You're living on your own wealth. Now I got another point of concern. how did I make this wealth? How was this money invested, and how do I change the economy? Because that's my concern. It's not taxpayers' money, it's my money, but also what's this money invested in? And probably a lot of it is not ethically sourced. Okay, that's where I go to change, to transform that, so that we can have ethically sourced wealth. And I'm in the process of learning, how do we make ethically sourced wealth? So the first thing we gotta learn we're all connected. So that is kind of really to remember. And of course, it turned into Mercury when I started talking about stocks, right? You seen that? It's Mercury for 20 minutes. That was my stock story. And you think about, I'm 39 learning this money when I was 20. I did a Richard Branson on it because I got so frustrated, and then I saw an opportunity, and I was like, not only going for the opportunity, but spreading the wealth. So all the money that the bank didn't pay me, I'm actually getting it back. Why? Because I attended to it. And why? Because to break the brackage of investment that I need to make a life while making a living, I would be needing to solve the riddle of how to do it ethically, in a way that is compatible with the world and the changes that I want to create, and be a good human being and have healthy relations and so on and so forth. Now remember, when I was a filmmaker, I had problems with human connections. Okay, I had problems. I was shy. Communication was overwhelming. Okay, it's kind of like one thing goes to another thing goes to another. Then I have Chiron ruled by Mercury. So Mercury, Chiron in Gemini. And so communication, childhood stuff, contracts, all these things, trade. Okay, something that is a slow learner. And Rahu is in Gemini, so it's something that I didn't do in this life. I did not know. Okay, my Ketu was in Sagittarius, but I did not know the application of that. Ever since I was a child, I remember I said, you would see the people who are making a lot of money, and I would say, oh, well, they're probably doing something that I'm not doing, so I should learn from them how they think, what they do. And partially is that, partially is also to understand the structure of the world, and that we need to change that to make wealth more accessible, because it's in benefit of our humanity. And so back to the teaching of all those secret occults and secret societies and Adolf Hitler, is that there are races and sub-races, and that certain people are not ready to be liberated or not ready to be free. Okay? I understand how they came to this notion that they thought, when we live good, we live on our land and we multiply, and then we need to conquer more land and so on and so forth. Because we looked at us like nature. But when you calculate inner willing consent into the process, and this is something that I've learned about, when I was thinking about liberalism on the way it is understood globally. And liberalism is basically a synonym with human rights. It's not an economic structure as it is understood in economy or in like the United States. Actually, an economy, what we call liberalism, understood more as what the conservatives in the United States. So it's very confusing. It's a very confusing term. But the understanding is that rights for the individual, when them, then people are gonna make less children, gonna invest in them more. And then all the problems that we're having with children not having a place to stay, not receiving love, becoming, either recruited to human trafficking or trafficked, or becoming organized crime when they grow up, wars, like all of that is kind of like so much diminished and perhaps even nullified when you bring in willing consent. And this is something that we need to learn as humanity, because it's not that looking at nature and looking at invasive species and saying I want to be like them, but that entails wars, and then the immediate understanding is kind of like there's going to be war all the time and people live good because they have to oppress each other. It's like, oh, not all people can be free, and then kind of like war of everybody ever. That was the concept of Hitler, of Mein Kampf, but he did not come out of thin air. That was what people, a lot of people still believe, and it affects sperm count. Okay, affecting sperm count is thingy, affects fertility, also in wombs because we connected, um, and that thing is kind of, it's a missing spot. It's a missing understanding that we can lay off the sword a lot more than we believe we can when we embody willing consent. Now, I just wanted to think about the story of Ikigai, whether it's a myth or not. So the story of Ikigai is basically about people who in Japan lived well into their hundreds. And that's the myth, okay? And somebody went to check how come. So basically what happens when you live well into your hundreds, people are gonna come over from all over the world. It's kind of like, what is your secret? Okay? That's all we need to do. That's all any peoples need to do. Because, and what is the story for Ikigai? So their secret was that they would make a couple of sets, okay? What I like doing, what I'm good at doing, what I believe the world needs, and what I can get paid for in the world. And what the intersection of these sets is my Ikigai, okay? My shine zone. The intersection of all these sets. I actually did a couple of Ikigai workshops, and that was a fascinating thing to do. No money changed hand. It was kind of like, and that was, it actually led to some money changing hands later, but that was very fascinating, something that I loved doing. And it's a good concept. It's the understanding that the work that is compatible for you, in a condition that is compatible for you, okay, is healthy for you. It's giving you life. Okay, you need to work in a way and in a job that you don't need a vacation from. But the flip coin of it is that your job needs to include, you need to make a life while making a living. You need to travel. You need to have vacations. You need to vacate also during your work. We understand that. People call it financial freedom in the West, but there's more to it. There's more interconnectivity to it, and I'm in the process of learning myself. But the thing is that when we are integrating this willing consent, when we do tend to these things, then people are gonna watch us. People are gonna watch us glow, basically. And I can tell you, when I was in between two houses, I was going to eat the Shabbat dinner, and when the friend who helped me out, okay, I was trying not to ask anything, but the one thing I asked other than the basics was the essential oils, because they were helping me. And I made essential oils blend, and I came to that for the Shabbat dinner. And I spoke with the lady there that made the dinner, and she told me, you know what, you are so inspiring. Yeah, one of the things I said, I believe God did not put me here for no reason. Yeah, it's probably something I came here to do, and I came here to learn. And she got very connected with me. She said, you are inspiring to me. Even when I had nothing to offer. Not only did I not have anything to offer, I came to eat. Okay? Even when I was in between two homes. Why? Because I was standing to being connected with my body. And people told me, I a person who has been disconnected from the body, okay, the problem to be present in the body. I was told by people, oh my God, you are so inspiring with how connected you are to yourself at every single step. And that was something that is building up. So even if you don't have anything, you have this value that you add to people's lives. Literally, now they feed you. Now they care for you. Now they connect with you. So, and when you do that, when everybody does that, then there can be more authentic connection. And so, instead of wars, we're gonna have scientists coming to see how come you live so long. Teach us, tell us what to do. Okay? Now you make it even more wealth. And you reinvest it. And so you're not afraid of extinction, but actually you understand that those things that you meet, that those changes, they're not frightening because you have this interconnectedness. And it takes a while, and I'm also in this process as well myself of building this. So that is more of the thoughts that I'm having with these heavenly constellations now. With this moon very much trining, this Venus. Okay, still Mercury hour, soon to be moon hour, and Jupiter night. So on another note, one of the things that I saw cookies. Somebody tried to make a cake from a skull, and it came out really creepy. And then somebody tried to make a dog cake. So it's so expensive, I should make it myself. And then they saw the picture, the dog looked scared and frightening. And I was like, not only is Venus retrograde and invisible, she's taking Jupiter with her because Jupiter is in Venus sign. It's kind of like, this looks scary. So yeah, that was the situation for today. And those are kind of my thoughts. Okay, we had that Mercury, that stock, contracts, prenuptials, not prenuptials, and the Venus values and relations, but also wealth and valuables as energy, kind of like rethinking things, not shying away from talking about these things, not shying away from defining our own needs and desires to be wealthy and healthy, and understanding that the person who listens to you all day after a day of work, or who lets you into your zoning out place, they are a part of what you're going through. They are a part of, remember when I was a Me Too veteran, then after that I spoke about, hey, like I had this buffer. I had a good friend that later he behaved not well, but before that, I remember the 10 years rather than what led to probably a needed separation. But the thing is, I remembered how I had this buffer. Okay, I had this buffer, and of course I'm thankful for that, right? That even when we were making changes, let's say in favor of women, we had supportive men. We had men who were supportive of this change. We had men who understood. We had men who went through this with us. So yeah, it is important. And when you make this wealth and when you make the material gains, it's important to acknowledge the spirit of the matter and the spirit and matter of things, and honor them, and that switch in our thoughts. That's like, hey, if I'm making all the wealth, but there's somebody who's really supportive of me of that process and is going through this emotionally with me, regardless of the gender, we are making this wealth together. We are doing this together, and that is a very big deal, and it's a very important thing to remember. And that is, kind of bringing the business back to bringing the business of human connections back to business, because business is not disconnected. Wealth is not disconnected from humanity, from human connections. um, and and this is just how it is. But also human connections in it, if something is clearly not, you both will clearly be better off separated, then it's a loving thing to allow for the structures for that separation to be facilitated and to be easy. um, so yeah, good night, good morning, and good evening. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.